Hey folks, this is Phil the Miniature Model Maker coming to you again in another video. I actually just stopped the Loyalist stream and mentioned doing some painting. That last one took all of 25 minutes compared to the hours for the other ones. Oh, oh, please didn't break. Please don't break. Thank you, Terminator. You made your 2-up save. So I'm going to do some painting, some priming actually. I'm going to brush prime if I can find my, we'll use this. If I can find my rag, and here's water and brushes and a little cup for this. Um, so those of you in YouTube watching this, please get the like, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff. It does help the channel get reach to people who might want to see it. Even if it's content that you may not want to see all the time, if you're not interested in my Tau or Chaos Space Marines or the Gundam artifacts, but you like the Loyalist stuff, just watch the Loyalist stuff, and vice versa for any of the others. I don't watch every video that every creator that I subscribe to makes. That's not, so I can't expect other people to do that for me either. And hit the notification because I don't always make videos or upload videos on a regular basis. So if you see something that I make that you like, watch it. If you don't, because I know there's going to be a lot of things for a lot of people, especially when it gets time to start doing Gundam artifact content again. I found that is exceptionally niche. And we are now using some Stynylrez black primer through a brush. I personally have not had great success using it through my airbrush. I'm sure that's on me. I mean, I've done a lot of models with it. I'm sure that's, and a lot of people have used it with great deal of success. So that's probably personal user error causing issues. But if it's not working for me, it's not working for me, and I need to find something else. But I did invest pretty heavily in it and want to use it up before I go into something else. So we're going to put this on these Terminators. They are Relictors. So this is going to be kind of base coating, which is why I'm giving it that stipple treatment. I want to create some texture. And the Relictors having gray, black, and white armor worked very well with the primers I had. I've got the black, gray, and white primers. So yay, that's lovely. And why did I pick Relictors? That's pretty easy because they are listed as being in the Jericho Reach at the time my forces are there. So it's canon, and I didn't like the color scheme for any of the other chapters that are there. The Storm Wardens seemed really cool. I think maybe they're the Fantasy Flight original chapter, because they were involved pretty heavily in the Calixis sector that Dark Heresy is involved in, or takes place in. And then I see that they got heavily involved in the Jericho Reach. That's another Fantasy Flight setting, but they're blue and white, and they're not an Ultramarine successor. they're I just don't like the color scheme, which is sad because the story's kind of neat, but they look too much like the Ultras, and like any good word bearer player, I am not a fan. I'm also not a fan of the Black Legion. It's the it's the whole poster boy thing, poster boy and plot armor thing that I really don't like about those two. Gilliman's a good character, but he's got way too much plot armor. Um, I'm generally just not a fan of Abaddon. I don't like him. I would much rather have seen Huron be the War Master. When it comes to you know, Chaos Space Marine leader characters, I think Huron's a much better character, more well written, definitely more compelling as a reader. But we have Abaddon, and we have our brews. The 40k lore setting, as far as the Space Marines are, it's a bruise. It's black and blue, black and blue, black and blue, always black and blue. I want more. I want more color. Um, so the Relictors, yeah, there's a, according to Lexicanum, there is a small detachment of some sort of the Relictors in the Jericho Reach. And I think that fits this group pretty perfectly. Small detachment of some sort. They're not really involved in the Achilles Crusade, but they're on the Achilles Crusade list because they're not full-on chaos. So I think it'd be fun to have these guys be Relictors Terminators, chasing my Chaos guys around through Space Hulks or their ships or whatever, trying to get their relics. So I am making these guys 100% specifically to play boarding action games against my Chaos forces. That's every good army needs a rival, and these guys are my army's rival. But the info I've been able to glean about the Relictors force doesn't really say much of. It's not a full company. It's just some detachment of some sort. Ew, what's this? What the heck? Hold on. Oh, okay. That started acting weird. Here we are. Are we back on screen? There's a 5 or 10-second delay from what I'm doing now to what shows up on the screen. So if it may take a little bit for things to get back up on in proper order. Okay, there we go. So Jay, are you there now? Now that I'm basically doing just a plain stream. What's your new? Well, hello, young no, this is Stano Res Black Primer. I'm brushing it on to get specific effects. I will be using. Well, I might be using oil washes on these guys. I'll definitely be using enamel washes on them. But I have, even with a 0.5 millimeter needle and appropriate pressure per the instructions through an airbrush, I've had difficulty priming models with airbrushes in this particular primer. So I'm just going through and brushing it on to get that kind of stippled, textured look. Your name looks Korean. Are you Korean, or is that something else? Okay. Yeah. So this is the what I'm painting with. I just before you came in, I was just saying how I lucked out having these three primers. I've got their black, gray, and white primers, and that's exactly the color scheme for the chapter I'm doing these in, and so I can pretty much just paint everything with the prime, and then I can get into details with other acrylics and enamel washes. I've never used oils on a mini before, but I have used enamels. AK Interactive's Streaking Grime, it's got a bit of a green tint now, and worked well with the green scheme of my towel. And I've also used Tamiya panel liner. If I can find it here. Where's the black top? There you are. Tamiya panel liner. And that's an enamel too. Behaves the same way. Oh, and you went bye-bye. Thanks for stopping by. Oh. That was something I had difficulty with too. Was thinning it enough but not too much. I am no airbrush expert by any stretch of the imagination. I really only use it for priming and basing. All I can say is find the mix that works best for you. Go to your local dollar or pound shop or whatever the equivalent is in your country. Get a pack of cheap plastic army men and practice on them before moving on to your Krieg, so you can get that mix just right. Actually, I had a whole bunch of these. They were sold on Amazon as Jello shot containers, um, and I used the lids. I primed the lids and practiced with that. But the army men are more fun. I think airbrushes. I don't know. I don't know what all the hate with airbrushes is going around is these days. I really don't understand it. They're a very useful tool. And they're really good at what they do. Oh, there we go. Please, yeah, there's Nightbot saying, please check out my YouTube channel. I, on occasion, will do a video just for YouTube, but most of the time it's posts of these Twitch streams. But the primary, the original content and that I was doing was build guides for Gundam artifacts. This little, tiny little Gundam model kits. So if you go over to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, you'll see some of this content, and these are proper models. I think this was a 60-piece kit. They're not the 5 or 10 pieces of a GW model, and certainly not the 4 pieces of a Gundam Assemble model, but they're the same size and can be used in Gundam Assemble, which I will eventually do. And hopefully the next, I just got another email from the folks I ordered it from. This last year's assembly, they do 5 new models each year, are finally making it to the US. They're finally here to be shipped out, which is crazy. They were supposed to be here in March, but it took a while. Alright, let's clean that out. So Krieg, tell me more about your Krieg. How big? How? About the only thing I know about Krieg is from listening to Siege of Rax campaign lore and Luton and Oculus Imperia. So I'm not a guard player, but I'm not 100% ignorant of the good old Death Corps. Do you have lore for your army, or is it just, are you more of a painting them to play them type thing? So I built, talking about these guys, I bought them specifically as a investment, something to be used in the future, in the far future after I got them, because a local guy was selling all of them for very cheap, a price I couldn't refuse. Going to play at some point, and hoping when I move I can say, Yeah, that's one of the main reasons all my stuff has taken so long to get done is I really haven't had storage. I had a place to play, but storing them is also a concern. All right, how are we looking here? It may be time to get the smaller brushes. Yeah, it'd be nice to have room for a table. Actually, my hobby desk, it's 6 feet by almost 3, which is pretty perfect for a big boarding action setup. So I can just set the train up on my hobby desk here, have all the lights and everything, and get going with that. All right, let's use this guy. Here we Yeah, this primer doesn't. It needs to be mixed up again. Okay, maybe that was the reason. Yeah, that's better. So this looks a bit better. So again, so if you're painting to play, what units have you got in your Krieg? I was pretty excited when I saw that plastic release when it came out. It was rather lovely. Okay. And this is where I prefer airbrush priming. It would have been done by now. But I just have to remind myself that this is actual part of the paint scheme I'm doing. I'm not just priming. I'm using primer as a paint. Just the Tin Man. I had a little one recently, and buying a house. Yep, yep. That's why I don't have uh, storage for these guys. My wife and I bought a house last year, and she got all my old furniture for her space, and now we're waiting to get my space decorated once all of the essentials are taken care of. You know how that goes. So I do have a nice closet to put all these guys in, so it's not a rush. Alright, that's not dry. Are any of these other ones dry? You look kind of dry. So you're gonna have a space in the house for hobbying, a hobby room potentially, or more like me with a big hobby desk and some bookshelves out of the way. And if you don't mind me asking, what drew you to Krieg? Or yeah, Krieg. And are you prepared to play guard? That's guard's a big investment. I actually play my Tau a lot like guard. I think that play style is a lot more fun um, than just dumping a bunch of battle seats on the table. Oh, hello, we got another visitor. Welcome, welcome. Oh, let me move my camera. Hold on just a moment. I just realized I'm going off frame. Hopefully this will work. Let me make my own little green screen here. There. Now if I'm on here, I know I'm in frame. And I just realized I forgot to do two of the other ones. Let me get them. Let me get them sorted. Very nice, very nice, very nice. Yeah, I when we got our place, the agreement was to make sure there was hobby space for both of us. She likes crafting and her stuff, so she gets to downstairs. And it's a condo with an open downstairs, and I get one of the two bedrooms upstairs for my space, and the rest of the house is hers, and that is just fine with me. I've got my computer to my left, and then I've got room for hobbying, room for my desk, and everything. So it worked out really well. 5 people in here. Welcome for stopping by. Thank you for stopping by. Welcome, welcome. I am finally painting up some Space Marine heroes, Terminators, that I got ages and ages ago from a dude in town. To be the opposing force for my Chaos Space Marines in boarding actions. And they are going to be Relictors. I got very lucky. So I'm using primer right now. Stynores primer. Hand brushing it partly for a specific visual effect, partly because I want to just do some hand painting, and also partly because well, forget it. You know what? I start talking to people and they leave. That was the same with when I was doing Gundam content. I guess it really is me and not just the subject. Alright. Garage will be the mini studio. Yes, yes, yes. That's good stuff. If I had a garage, it would have been an aquarium studio. No, I lie. It would have been for cars. And I might have been able to wall off one section of it for aquariums. Alright, this is not how I should be doing things. I should be using this to get into the nooks and crannies and using the bigger brush to get the bigger areas. So Mini Studio, are you hoping to do things like battle reports, or are you just saying studio in a more generic hobby space type type meaning? Just a moment. I keep knocking my head on this. There we go. Sorry about the earthquake there. Anytime I move the camera close enough to see when I'm painting minis, I knock my head against it. Good snips. Were they god hands? I would be heartbroken if I had a pair of god hands and they broke. Thankfully for me, I'm only doing the miniatures. I don't want to. That was not the right way to say it. Only doing insinuates that they're not real models. simply because they're scale. They are. I'll whip out a sprue here or a box here in just a second. But they're certainly not the multi-$100 perfect grades and things that, you know, having all the proper snippers makes an actual difference. Thankfully, there are a number of model industry up and comers that are making relatively good quality stuff. All right, let's see here. Are you? Well, I've just got this one here. So this is what most of the plastic looks like. It's this light orange yellow color that they molded it specifically to look like garage kit resins. That was a design choice of theirs. But they're also in the category of toys over in Japan that are shokugan, which traditionally you would get in a gotcha ball with some candy and some little cheapo toy that parents with screaming children can give their kid a 500 yen coin and make them happy sucking on a piece of candy and some little toy while they're out in public. But they also have randomly assorted in the box you get are special colors. In this series, it was clear red. Yeah, I'm actually using Citadel, my Citadel ones for these, and doing pretty much okay with that. It does take a little bit of work to clean up the gate marks, but what doesn't really? But yeah, this is the sprue of one of the more complicated artifacts. You know, again like this. Here in the States, they're about, depending on the merchant, $7 or $8 a piece. And they only come out once a year. You get a different variety each year. But if you like Gundam, I wish I could go do the same. Yeah, there we go. So if you like Gundams and you like model building and you like miniatures, definitely give these guys a look. And it's time for me to get back to stop preaching about artifacts and get back to painting the Warhammer. We've got two more people in here. Hello, thank you for stopping by. What brings you to the channel today? I am currently priming / painting. I'm base coating these Space Marine Heroes Terminators with primer. Because I want to use it up so I can move on to a different brand that works better for the artifacts. But I won't lie, this does work this has the right effect that I want for brush application on these guys, which is lovely. Oh, dang it, I did it again, didn't I? I just moved my camera again. Will this work? Crotch shot. So I'm applying this a lot like one would contrast paint, speed paints, express paints, whatever your preferred speed paint brand is. Loading the brush down, letting it just giving it a good coat, and then letting it dry before going back and doing a second coat. So this black is going to be the base for grays, but it is going to be the primary black for the black sections. I will probably paint over the black sections with some Abaddon black, just to make sure that I've got a consistent coat, a consistent color. But the Stynylrist primer makes a very nice black base coat. So if you've got something like Black Templars or Death Watch, and you don't like airbrushes, don't be afraid to get out your brush. I would love to try sponge application of this kind of primer. That would probably be really neat. And as long as you're treating it like painting and not simply applying a primer, it's just as fun. It is less. It feels less tedious, and we know, being good, loyal citizens of the Imperium, perception is reality. So if you perceive it to be fun and not tedious, it is fun and not tedious. Oh, hello follower, who is that? Oh, play Smasher rating with a party of 2. Thank you for the raid. That's the second raid I've ever gotten. What brings you guys here today? You just coming to help out some poor little newbie schmuck with very few viewers painting Space Marines? I am currently slathering primer over these guys. what channel are you coming from, Play Smasher? Let everybody know. Tyranids. Oh, ooh, cool. They're a lot of fun. I don't have or paint them myself, but they uh, they make excellent opponents, and they're really neat models. Um, it's kind of ironic in a way that you mentioned that, because I got these guys specifically to play Space Hulk with. They're not the Space Hulk ones. They're the original run of the Space Marine Heroes. Um, but growing up with the Aliens movies, who can't love the idea of Tyranids and Terminators duking it out in a chaos warped spaceship? I was just okay. Auspex Tactics over on YouTube. Just this morning, I don't know if it's a leak or if he's just kind of talking about it. G-Dubs is printing rules for a Space Marine 2 really small scale mode in White Dwarf 515. It uses the boarding actions terrain and it's like, what's the best way to describe it? From the way it sounds, it's kind of like a very simplified kill team, probably a lot like the original, maybe a little bit more complex than the original Space Hulk. I've only seen game reports of Space Hulk. But yeah, I was actually talking with one of my friends yesterday about all this, how GW have done. It's like they're intentionally doing everything they can to make Space Hulk without making Space Hulk, and avoid it for whatever dumb reason. I mean, yeah, they sure did. Um, it's just, I don't get it. I don't get why they willingly refuse to print money. Because even if they don't, and they just reprinted these Terminators, right? Why don't they use them in as the sculpts for Space Hulk? It boggles my mind, truly. But I am happy and secure in my possession of plenty of boarding actions / Galadark terrain, 10 unique Terminators, um, and am satisfied with that. And plenty of Chaos Space Marine to fight in a Space Hulk against these guys with. Oh, it's all right. I very much appreciate the follow. So I don't stream on any regular schedule, and this is pretty much how I get hobby socialization. I live in a university town, But when the students aren't here, there's really not a lot going on. And being a townie, more than twice their age, we don't exactly have a lot in common to be hobbying with. So I do streams to chat with folks. But yeah, the follow is appreciated, and I do have a YouTube channel where I mostly repost these the videos here. I started doing Twitch because it was more engaging for me to have people to talk to when recording rather than just recording and chatting to the ether. Schedules are great. They are wonderful. Unfortunately for everybody involved, I am a hobby butterfly in that if I want to be hobbying, I will. If I don't, I will just put it away and do something else. But that's not particularly good for consistent streaming or video making. And I'm not going to force myself to do this. So that. But thankfully, I've recently found a source of motivation that's pretty good. Can't spell schedule. Schedule. Yeah, it's alright. I got what you said. Communication is, as long as you can understand each other, right? I won't give you trouble for misspelling things. At least not till we get to know each other better. My best friend is always fighting against autocorrect, and has brought about some very fun teasing opportunities. So Tyrannus, tell me about your NIDS. I'm always down to hear about other people's armies, especially if they have lore. I do love lore and stories. You know, you may not be able to spell schedule, but I bet you can spell Tyrannifex in your sleep. Yeah, Blade Smasher, our friend. I can't even. Where is he? Jungi Chul seems to be fairly new to the Warhammers. So we have kind of possibly a modeling newbie, relatively newbie. Chat pause due to scroll. Uh-oh, I need to unpause. There we go. 7 people watching the stream. 6 people watching the stream because it counts me as one. Look at this. That's quite a bit. Thank you guys for coming by. I'm sure watching me paint black on the Terminators is enthralling content. I appreciate it though. It's nice to have other people around, even if it's just in the background. I do often have other hobbyists that I enjoy watching or listening to, really, in the background here when I'm doing my own stuff too. If you like Warhammer 40,000 hobbying content, please visit that link. I am just getting started on that. The channel began as a general, let's just post videos of me doing my hobby stuff, and it rather quickly became focused on doing build guides for small Gundam models, miniature scale 55 millimeter Gundam models, because there was very, very little content for that in English and there weren't any detailed build guides. But now we're kind of getting back into the Warhammers. What software are you using to record? Because I'm using OBS, and it saves a recording of the stream to my hard drive, and I can just upload that to YouTube. I don't even have to double stream or anything. And if I want to stream every day, I can, and I can just put those on an infinite upload loop over there on the YouTubes. So I can get that video, with that one video a week out for the algorithm, if I wanted to. That was something I learned quickly that made a big difference in my administration of all this stuff. The content I make is so very niche that there's no niche and low production quality, that there's no way in the world I'll ever be monetized. But every little efficiency when it comes to content creation and administering channels always helps, right? Alright, this is good. We're getting there, folks. That's still a little bit wet. Never say never. Well, we'll put it this way. I have 65 videos up, probably 70 hours worth of video content, 18 subscribers, half of which are my family, and very, very few watched hours. Now, maybe doing the 40K stuff will change that. I must concede that. That's just got a much, much wider audience. Even now, even I would have been floored to have had 5 people in one of my Gundam streams at once, let alone somebody rating it. I think we had 9 in here at one point this stream. That's those are numbers that I have not encountered yet. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. I'm grateful. So I'm getting close to being done with this step, I think. I'm going to give this guy this last one more coat of primer. And then let everything dry overnight. Because I don't know quite yet where I'm gonna put what, the gray and black and stuff. I want to look into what the canon pattern for Relictors Terminators would be as far as their colors, where they go and whatnot. Thank you, friend, for stopping by. I am grateful. It was good to meet you. I would love to hear more about your Tyranids next time we're able to catch up together. You have good food. So at the moment, I'm just using up the last bit of this primer and giving little spots of red another light coat. Hey, welcome back. I was just getting to the point where I think I'm going to have to stop and let these have a proper cure. And see how everything looks tomorrow. I prefer to give primer a full day to dry. I know this is good to paint on after like 15-20 minutes, but since this is fundamentally the base coat, I want to make sure that I'm not going to overdo it. Because that would be bad. I don't want to gum things up, fill in details that I don't need to be just because. right. That's that. Thank you for stopping by, everybody. I am grateful for your attendance and your chats, your talking, your interaction. It's fun. I will continue doing these at another time. What was that? Was that a... Hey, thank you. I normally, when I do stream, it's normally during the work day of the Eastern U.S. time. So I don't expect a lot of views. I'll try and do more on weekends. Maybe I'll make these Terminators the weekend project. That would be kind of fun, I think. So look forward to potentially to more Terminator painting next weekend. Thank you for visiting. I've been Phil, the Miniature Model Maker, coming to you today painting the Space Marine Heroes 2, not Space Marine 2 Heroes, Space Marine Heroes Series 2 Terminators, in beginning in the Relictor black, gray, and white color scheme. And remember, folks, that this is a hobby. If it doesn't bring you joy, don't do it. Take care of yourselves, all right? Bye-bye.